Tell me about Tony Club so everybody watching knows who you are and why you are the guy most qualified to be spearheading this.
Perfect. Glad to be here, Mike. A little bit about myself. I was thinking about this the other day. I've actually been in a work environment that has a high potential for violence for over 30 years when I was thinking about it. This goes back to security work, bouncer work, loss prevention, and then most notably, I did over 24 years in a local law enforcement agency with a local probation department. And during that time, got to do a lot of unusual work as far as multiple task force, firearms instruction, defensive tactics instruction. But the big key for this type of the connection here is I did a tour as the human resources director for the department. So overseeing grievances, internal affairs investigations, HR complaints, dealing with collective bargaining units, the training unit, you name it, everything HR went through me, and that kind of gave me my nexus to this. And then when I decided to retire, I became a licensed private investigator, and I ended up meeting you at a conference. We talked just down the road from each other, so we kind of connected, and I jumped right into your first instructor course. Matter of fact, I was thinking about it today, and during a break during that conference, you and I talked. I immediately bought your book, and during the conference, I think I spent more time reading the book, the book that you wrote about surviving active shooter incidents than I did paying attention to what was being presented. So kind of sucked me into the program, and here we are today.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And you subsequently became a certified Alive instructor, so you can now teach the Alive method and program to anybody and everybody. You've done it many, many, many times and done a very good job. So I appreciate that. And that's why you're the guy most suited for this, because law enforcement, so you know about laws, you know about the workplace violence, you know about violence and countering violence, but you were directly involved with human resources, and those are going to be the people that this is going to stress out the most, frankly. You and I have been to seminars where legal teams came in to talk about this new law to people, and it literally scared the hell out of so many of these, and it was filled with HR people. And after seeing the presentation by these labor attorneys, they were just like, oh my God, are you serious? I will personally say that this is probably well, I don't want to talk too badly about our state government, but I think that they're really asking for a lot from California employers, and that what is being mandated in this law is going to add so much to the corporate HR manager's plate, and that it's going to be really, really difficult. And that is why we came up with this solution. Now, before we get into the solution, talk about SB553. What does it demand? What are the fines? What has to be done? So our audience is going to be, let's say I'm an HR manager, and I say, Tony, I don't understand HB 553. Give it to me. So explain that.
Sure. So I think the intent has, it's a solid background based on statistics about workplace violence. They're trying to do a good thing, but I think it's gone a little bit. It's made it almost impossible for small businesses to incorporate something like this without consulting with somebody. So when you look at the legislation, just the basics, the basic requirements is you have to develop a workplace violence prevention plan. You have to develop a training program for your staff, and you have to keep a violent incident log. And then there's also criteria related to record retention for your violent incident logs, your training, your workplace violence prevention plan. And then they also have some collateral in each of those sections that you're required to do. And so a lot of people have a hard time when they first look at face value, when they think, oh, I'm doing all these other HR jobs and now I have to do this too. And it's overwhelming when you start reading legislation and see everything that needs to be put in place for you to be compliant by July 1st, 2024.
Yeah. Putting it in a nutshell, now, HR person, you have to create a workplace violence prevention plan, which you may have already had as part of your, what is it, IIPW, whatever the hell?
IIPP, your injury illness prevention plan.
Yeah. So it might already have been part of that, but if not, let's say you're a small company, maybe you don't have an HR manager. Maybe you're an owner that you have to do this yourself. You have got to create a plan. You've got to then teach it to everybody in person. It can't be online. It can't be recorded. It can't be a video. It's got to be in person, because you have got to give your employees the ability to interact and ask questions and give feedback. You've got to teach it. You've got to keep records of, make sure everybody's learned it, and annually you've got to teach it again, year after year after year. It's got to include, and the wording in there basically describes active shooter training. It's what is the wording, how to respond to, shelter in place or whatever.
Yeah, you have to have a plan, effective training, and that's a big component. Every time they talk about something, it has to be what they deem as effective, but they don't define what effective is. But you have to train your staff on how to, your exit routes, how to escape from a situation, or if you can't escape, how to shelter in place. And you also have to train them up on, how do I get assistance from security, law enforcement? Do we have a special response team? You have to have that incorporated in your training, and it has to be, and this is a big component of as well, it has to be specific to your site. So we can no longer just have a workplace prevention plan that covers 3 different sites, all with different hazards, workplace hazards. This now has to be specific to each individual site, which creates even more headache for HR managers when you're trying to figure out, well, where can we use the same language or verbiage for our plan, and then where do we have to change it, because maybe one's a yard that's open to the public and the other one's an admin building where it has a whole different series or set of hazards that they'll encounter.
Right. Yeah. And so there's that. So then you've got to put together the training presentation. You've got to deliver it. You got to keep records to make sure Cal OSHA knows that you did it. You've got to include active shooter training. Here's one that shocked me. You now have to conduct a physical security audit of your facilities. So every one of your buildings has to have a physical security audit. I don't know a whole lot of HR people that have been in our world and taught how to do a physical security audit. So that is going to be a massive issue. And then, of course, you got to be able to do an investigation of a complaint of workplace violence. You then have to have a report, and you have to have an incident log, which can't have any identifying information. So if Bill Smith reports that Jeff Franklin threatened him, and it can be just a threat of violence is considered workplace violence, and it must be listed, it must be recorded, it must be investigated, it must be addressed. All of that, and a physical security audit, and you got to have records in case Cal OSHA shows up and says, okay, let's see if you're SB553 compliant. And if you're not, at last we looked, or last we were told, the fines are anywhere from $17,000 to $23,000 per incident or something like that. I mean, this is a massive undertaking with some very serious consequences if you don't, adhere to it. And it starts July 1st of this year. If I was an HR person, I would be very stressed out right now, because that is a whole lot to do in a very short amount of time. Anything else? Like what else do they need to know about it, or what can they do to satisfy it?
Well, I think one of the things that you really have to start off with is the security assessment or inspection, where you identify what are the hazards. So then you can take your plan and make it specific to your location. So that's kind of like the first thing. And that's what everybody kind of steps back, because it's not their area of expertise and they kind of get stuck there. And then you start working your plan. Interesting component of SB553 too is that they're very much into involving your employees or their collective bargaining units in not only the development of the plan. They need to be involved in that, however you determine it's appropriate, or their collective bargaining unit can represent the employees, but they also have to be involved in the development of training. So you've got to have your employees involved. And depending on the size of your organization, this can be a huge undertaking, how many people you involve in the process. It doesn't say all of their input has to be worked into it, but you do have to make sure that you address it.
Yeah, they have to feel listened to, because in California, everybody needs to have a voice. and I don't mean to be flippant, but as a businessman, a business person that owns a business and runs a business in California, already feeling overregulated, this is just crazy to me. But hey, what I think doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that these companies, fearing massive fines, have got to do what it takes to provide this physical security audit, active shooter training, create the training, give it, make sure you've got records available to prove, yes, we've done it annually. It's a lot. And